starting with our unranked South Carolina. As you recall, Shane Beamer is now the head coach of South Carolina. And I'm just going to go through each one of these and summarize their classes, and then we're going to kind of give our reactions to them. They have 13 commits, 0 ESPN 300 commits. 12 of their commits are 3 stars, and they have 1 not ranked who's a JUCO transfer. Their top recruit is TJ Sanders, who is the number 72 defensive end out of Marion, South Carolina. And so he is their top recruit. Obviously, a lot of work to be done for Shane Beamer, first time head coach, right? He hasn't head coached anywhere, right? He's had a lot of assistant gigs, I believe. But anyway, so a lot of work cut out for him. Matt, I'd like to start with you first. We'll talk about South Carolina. I mean, what do you do with this? If you're an incoming coach and you have this kind of class, how do you spin it in a good way?
Well, I think the thing you have to kind of focus in on is you have to let people know that, hey, this is a baseline. This is where we're starting off. You know, Carolina finished 2-8 last season. Not very good in the bottom of the SEC East, although I can't say anything as a Tennessee fan. But anyway, still down there and had a pretty rough 2020 campaign. So I think if you're the new coach coming in, you got to start this kind of say, hey, we got to build for the future. We're going to have to get better and start getting more kids. But even if you can't land one of those top 300, that's bad. And if you're not ranked, that's still not a very good look. The optics, to use a business term, the optics on that situation are really, really rough. And I'm kind of curious if that's going to bleed into, the 2022 class, the 2023 class, and so on and so forth. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Beamer coming in, because Beamer has a little bit of a pedigree with who his dad was. He's had some success. He was at Carolina a while back, so he has something to build on. But it's going to be interesting to see what exactly he's going to be able to pull off as far as who he's going to get to come to Carolina. Getting a decent defensive end is good, but you got to have them playmakers too. You can't win things on defense. We know that in the SEC, especially now.
Jesse, as a incoming head coach, I guess it's very important to set expectations. So with a bar this low, there's nowhere to go but up, right?
There's nowhere to go but up. If I were him, I'm calling the athletic department. I'm calling the facilities team, and I'm going to see if we can start serving beer at the game. If we don't, to try to get people in the seats, rally behind the team. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, you can't go anywhere but up. But it's really hard to recruit. You're putting yourself in a hole, and it's not like he got hired yesterday. Like, he was hired mid-season-ish, so he had some time to get his own recruiting class. So you can't blame that. Like, yes, the program was in the dumps when he got it, but you still have to recruit well, because you're not going to help yourself out by not recruiting well at all. So this is tough for Carolina. I venture to say the season is not going to look much better than it did this past year, unless they can start maybe scheduling some cupcakes out of conference, but we don't know what this 2021 season is going to look like. So things are very uncertain there. And the first step is to start building some culture, build some trust with the guys you have, and build a staff around you that is going to buy in as well, and hopefully foster the talent you have, because people aren't coming right now. And if you don't do well this season, they're not going to come next season. So it's they're on some shaky ground, but I think they know that.
Yeah.
And to give us, sorry, Wes, just to give us a little bit more perspective too, I pulled up 247 Sports to get an idea of what that recruiting looked like. So last year, according to 247 Sports, they were ranked 19th in the nation. This year, they're 78th, according to 247 Sports. And there's only like 115 teams in the entire country.
Yeah.
Or in FBS anyway. And it's not looking good for next year either, because according to what 247's recruiting is saying here, they're looking at 52nd next year. So it's not a good look.
If you look at to your point, looking at the past several seasons, South Carolina in 2018, they were number 18. In 2019, they were number 17. In 2020, they were number 20. I mean, it's just like from there to boom, just off the list.
But they weren't doing great even with those classes. So I mean,
Right.
the question is then, was the coaching staff and the culture just that bad at Carolina that they didn't foster the talent that they had recruited? Or I mean, that's really the only question. That's
I
just
think
it.
that was a lot of it, yeah. And you know why obviously Muschamp's not there anymore. So you know, they're gonna
he's back at Georgia.
yeah. Hey, I'll take him as a coordinator. That's
bet
fine.
He's a
you
good
will.
coordinator. He's a good
You
coordinator.
will.
He's just not a good head coach.
Yeah. So we'll see. They're gonna have to overperform this year, big time, I think, in order to see that improve next year.